Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Ich begrüße Sie ganz herzlich zur nun folgenden Keynote von Kelly Day. Diejenigen von Ihnen, die gerne eine Simultanübersetzung ins Englische hätten, seien nochmal auf die Kopfhörer verwiesen, die es draußen am Saaleingang gibt. So, we're very happy to have our next keynote speaker here on stage. She flew in from LA yesterday, and when people come such a long way, we tend to assign more than just one task to them. So, you've already had the pleasure to see Kelly on this morning's TV Summit, where she talked a little bit about Awesomeness TV, and so now we want to hear more about what is not only an MCN, a multi-channel network, but also, as she briefly explained this morning, a company on the way to becoming the digital entertainment studio for millennials in the United States. And that's the news for a week now, worldwide, in cooperation with Endemol Shine over here in Europe. So we're very excited to hear about the strategy and plans of Awesomeness TV, and we're very happy to welcome on stage its Chief Digital Officer, Kelly Day.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here. I'm here today to tell you a bit about Awesomeness TV, a little bit about our story, and how we've used the disruptive forces in media to build an entertainment brand really for today's youth. Before we get started, I'd like to show you a quick look at some of our talent and programming that we're developing at Awesomeness, give you a little bit of context for what we're doing. So what is Awesomeness TV? Like Torsten said, we really are much more than an MCN or a production company or a network even. In just 3 short years, Awesomeness TV has become one of the fastest growing global entertainment brands on the planet. The company was founded a little over 3 years ago, early 2012, by a guy named Brian Robbins. Brian founded the company following, so sorry. This is what happens when you try and multitask on a stage, right? So Brian founded the company following what was a very successful 25-year film and television career. He had created very successful hit franchises like Smallville, One Tree Hill. He directed Varsity Blues. He created a whole string of hits for Nickelodeon in the 90s, including Kenan and Kel and all that. And the story of how Awesomeness came to be has been told many times now, but you know, Brian is at Warner Brothers. He's got a very cushy office over at Warner Brothers on the lot there, and his agent calls him one day and says, hey, I'd like you to take a meeting with this kid named Fred, a YouTuber named Fred. And Brian thought, well, gosh, like, what did I do wrong? You know, I thought I was doing pretty well here, and you've got me meeting with YouTubers. This is around late 2010. But he decides to take the meeting, and his agent brings over Fred. And by the end of the meeting, Brian had decided to make a movie with Fred. He was so compelled by the story of how this kid from Omaha, Nebraska managed to build a brand on YouTube by doing funny little voices, and in the process amass over 1 million followers. And so Brian decides to do the movie with Fred. He writes the check out of his own bank account, and the movie goes on to be one of the most successful movies Nickelodeon had ever aired in the US. 2 sequels later, as well as a hit television series, Fred was a bona fide global hit. And so in 2012, Brian decided to found Awesomeness as really a new digital brand, one that he had hoped would be as meaningful as MTV was to Generation X for this new digital generation. So today, Awesomeness reaches 150 million subscribers around the globe. We generate over 700 million monthly views, and in the last 3 years, over 17 billion views. We operate one of the most diverse businesses in media today. We produce over 400 hours a year of original content. We have over 300 of today's top digital talent under management. We operate one of the world's largest MCNs with 90,000 channels in our MCN. Not to mention a record label, a publishing and print, a branded entertainment business, and the consumer products organization. So how did we do this? In today's television market, almost everyone I talk to is focused on reaching the highly coveted 18 to 34 millennial audience. In fact, one executive at a major European broadcaster that I recently spoke to told me that her company had quite literally given up on pretty much all audiences under 25. Because, as she said, they weren't sure what the role for linear was for this audience. So apparently, young adults are such a mystery to reach that traditional media companies have simply abandoned them altogether. Awesomeness took an entirely different approach over the past 3 years and has built one of the fastest growing media businesses on the planet by focusing entirely on this audience, Generation Z. So why Generation Z? Well, quite simply, Generation Z is not only the largest generation since the baby boomers, making up roughly 25% of the population in some key markets, but they are by far the most influential generation we have ever seen. Gen Z are the first generation of true digital natives. These are kids who have never known a world without the internet or a mobile device. They completely dominate social media, online entertainment, and mobile technology, and they're creating an entirely new kind of audience. At Awesomeness, we engage Gen Z better than anyone else because we talk to this audience every day on the platforms that they watch and in the language that they speak. Our Gen Z audience doesn't just passively watch and consume content. They participate and engage with us. They influence what we create and how and when we connect with them. So how do we program to this digital-first audience? Our Awesomeness TV branded YouTube channel is a powerhouse for teen viewing. We program 28 originally professionally produced shows every week for over 3 million subscribers. No one spends more on original digital content than we do. Social viewing and interactions are really at the heart of reaching this audience. And at the center of that interaction is all about the talent. We partner with, and in many cases we represent, some of the world's hottest young talent, including global superstars such as Tyler Oakley, Cameron Dallas, Nash Greer, the Janoskians, Ingrid Nielsen, and many, many, many more, as you can see. These talent have not only amassed massive social footprints, reaching millions of young adults around the world every day, but in building their brands and their audiences on YouTube, they've learned how to be truly creators and storytellers. And when you combine the power of massive audience reach with great storytelling, well, you know what happens then, you have a hit. One really great example of an Awesomeness TV star on the rise is a girl named Meg Deangelis, or May Baby, as she's known to her fans. We discovered Meg in February of 2014, and we signed her to Awesomeness. She's under management with us, when she had only 290,000 subscribers. Since then, we featured her in a string of Awesomeness TV produced videos that have garnered over 70 million views, including one of our most successful series, Royal Crush. Royal Crush is a classic Cyrano de Bergerac story. It's set aboard a cruise ship starring Meg along with Alex Aono, who's another fast-growing young star. Now in its third season, Royal Crush averages over 2 million views per episode on Awesomeness TV. That's more than almost any hit cable or TV show targeting this audience. But this isn't really about just building a hit show for YouTube. Our success in developing traditional material featuring digital talent extends to feature films as well. Over the past year, we've released 3 feature films, and all 3 have gone on to the very top of the iTunes charts. The first was Expelled, featured social superstar Cameron Dallas. Expelled had a limited US theatrical run. It went quickly to iTunes and other EST platforms like Amazon and Google Play. We put a massive social campaign behind it where Cameron rallied his fans around the world to take the movie to #1. And Expelled hit the very top of the iTunes charts on its first day, displacing a 7-week run from Guardians of the Galaxy, huge studio movie, and fending off a new release, The Equalizer, starring Denzel Washington. It was the #1 release. In today's fragmented media landscape, it's not enough to produce great content. There's more great content being produced right now than ever before. Being able to market and distribute content is critically important. And Generation Z is watching content on lots of different platforms, and in many cases, lots of platforms all at the same time. One platform that is specifically targeting Gen Z is the new Go90 platform from Verizon that recently launched in the US just a few weeks ago. Go90 is a mobile app. It features content from sports teams like the NFL, traditional US cable networks like MTV and Nickelodeon and others, and also digital studios such as Vice and Awesomeness. We're producing 200 hours a year of exclusive original content for the Go90 platform. It features all of our top talent, all of the great YouTubers that we just talked about, like Meg. This content, what's so unique about it is that as we've been developing it, we've created it for distribution both in short form, so it's available through the mobile device in short form on the Go90 app from Verizon in the US. Outside the US, though, it's available as full-length 22-minute episodes, including on the Family Channel in Canada, where it's going to start airing in early 2016. In fact, our connection with this audience is not just limited to the US. That's the thing that's so special about what we've been able to build and the power of these social platforms and building your brand, is that you are essentially global from day one. We've built fans and audiences all over the world, but we've always wanted to have a deeper connection. We wanted to bring a much more local focus to what we do. We wanted to bring more local content and local talent into our approach. So a few weeks ago, we announced a groundbreaking partnership with Endemol Shine Group. We're going to be bringing the Awesomeness brand with Endemol to Germany, the UK, Spain, Brazil, and France. Later this year, we'll be launching in partnership with Endemol new Awesomeness YouTube and social media channels in each one of these markets. We're also working very closely with the teams at Endemol to take some of Awesomeness's most successful television franchises and bring those formats to local broadcasters here in Germany and in other European markets. And finally, we have a whole slate of new scripted and unscripted series in development specifically for these local markets and featuring lots of local social media talent. But Awesomeness is really only the beginning. There's much more on the horizon. We're taking what we've learned with Awesomeness and focusing on this 13 to 24 demo, and we're applying this strategy to DreamWorks TV as well. So we're now building and programming DreamWorks TV. We have nearly 1 million subscribers on our YouTube channel, surpassing Disney and Nickelodeon, to reach kids and families 6 to 12. And finally, our newest brand is Awestruck, targeting women 25 to 39. It's just launched a few weeks ago, so we're super excited to essentially follow some of the same footsteps in targeting what we believe is an underserved millennial mom audience. It's absolutely true that the way our youngest audiences are consuming content is changing very, very quickly. And I hear a lot of people in the media business talk about this audience with a lot of angst and a lot of fear, not really understanding how to talk to the audience, how to reach them. A lot of people just sort of assuming, well, you know, they spend all their time on social media, so we should just forget about trying to make that happen. At Awesomeness, we really believe in embracing the disruptive nature of what's happening in the media business right now. We want to dive in head first and understand how to connect with our kids and teens and really reach them on the platforms where they are spending their time. I definitely encourage anyone in the media business today, whatever business you're in, television, print, digital, to really look at this young audience not as something to fear, but really as what could be the next big opportunity for your business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Your most fascinating achievement possibly is that you've already blown up some traditional barriers between digital TV and cinema. You do run your TV shows, you do movies for cinema. So does that mean for the years to come that it will only be just one kind of moving images, and that essentially we won't have a separation between TV, cinema, digital video anymore?
It's a really interesting premise. I do think that the lines are certainly blurring around what defines TV versus a feature film. At this point, you know, it's still somewhat defined by length, right? So when we distribute movies, it has to be 82 minutes. When we distribute TV, it's typically 22 or 45 minutes. But more and more what we're finding is that even when we're working with broadcasters, for example, who are still having to program to a linear schedule, we do see a lot more people taking risks in terms of length of content and type of content. So I had mentioned earlier, we have a really amazing partnership with the Family Channel in Canada and Charged in Canada, the two kids networks operated by DHX Media. And one of the reasons why we love working with DHX is because they are so flexible in their thinking in that regard. So they're willing to try not only a 22-minute episode or even an 11-minute episode, but they're trying 5- and 6-minute episodes. They're trying, you know, mixing different types of programming into a 30-minute block or a 60-minute block. And so it's been a really great partnership for us, and one that, you know, we hope will continue to grow. But I do think that that is a trend overall, right? Which is that as you start to break down the barriers between linear and VOD, length of programming and other traditional constructs start to become really irrelevant.
Well, let's talk about length of content, as you brought it up. I mean, I watched Royal Crush and some of your other series, and we hardly have any long-form scripted digital content over here yet. If you search YouTube channels, you do have a lot of them.
A lot, yes.
And the most important reason, I think, at least everyone's saying it over here, is that the advertising market is not there yet, the agencies, the clients. So is that a difference? Is the whole US market full of digital ad dollars that make that possible? Or is it a specific thing where you have like a secret recipe that you talk to, in this case, Royal Caribbean, and they do Royal Crush with you?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, and there's sort of multiple parts to that. The first is that I do think that obviously the market for branded content and bringing brands into content in the US is perhaps a little bit further along than we see in other markets. But I do think that it will get there, right? Some of it is that, we had similar things happen in the US where brands came in and created content. In a lot of cases, frankly, the content wasn't very good. It was kind of a 5-minute infomercial. And I think that turned a lot of people off to branded content. Our approach to branded content, and I think the reason why it has worked well for us with something like Royal Crush, is that we started off with just a great show. So it was just about making a great show, featuring great talent. We had a good script. It just happened to take place on board of a cruise ship. So that partnership really worked because we were able to have a really good dialogue at the CMO level. I do think that for branded content to move forward quickly, a lot of those conversations probably happen at the CMO level within brands, and really getting the marketing team behind the brand sort of excited.
Not so much via media agencies.
I think the agencies are supportive and interested, but it's easier for the agencies to go there if you have a CMO that's really excited about it. I think the second piece of it, though, is that you see a lot, particularly in the MCN space, where they will trot out a slate of shows and say, hey, we have these shows, and then the big asterisk is if you buy them, right? We've never taken that approach. We produce an enormous amount of scripted series, and many of those series, most of those series actually don't have a brand attached to it. Royal Crush happened to be a very successful show that had a brand attached to it. But we really believe in creating great stories for this audience. We program to our audience, which means that every day you've got to get inside the head of a 17-year-old girl and say, well, what does she like, right? So she likes music, she likes fashion, she likes beauty, she likes boys and romance and things like that. And so we have a nice balance of scripted and unscripted that's really meant to kind of serve what we think will entertain our audience.
However, as I get it, you don't want to rely totally on advertising forever. That's why you're part of projects that start with premium online video that charge users a couple of dollars per month. So what are your first early experiences with that, and how do you think will that go? Where will that go?
Well, I think, the legacy of our company and sort of the DNA of our company has always been in developing premium series, right? Brian was creating film and television for 25 years before he decided to get into, the YouTube business. So it is really part of our DNA to create premium series that we, as a studio, the studio part of our business, creates a lot of content for people like Netflix and Hulu, and as well as the feature film side of things, where we sell through theatrical releases, iTunes, Google Play, things like that. So we've kind of been in that business of working with major SVOD providers, EST providers, and more, I guess what you would call traditional, although it's funny that we're already calling Netflix and Amazon and stuff traditional, but more traditional models that way. The new entrants, like what we're seeing with Go90 with Verizon, obviously we're very excited about it because it's really the first massive investment in premium original content that is specifically designed for how young audiences consume, which is digital platforms first, mobile first, but a very big investment in content versus what we've seen historically, which is, well, let's try it out, let's maybe some rev share, and we'll sell some ads around it and see what happens. This was really, Verizon saying, no, we really believe in this. We believe in the audience, we believe in the platform, and we're willing to really invest in it. It's been a great partnership for us. It's obviously still early days, so we'll see how it goes, but we're actually doing quite a lot to help market and promote the service through our talent and through our audience as well. So we think it's a big opportunity.
So as a last aspect, of course, we need to talk about your brand new gateway to Germany and to Europe, the cooperation with the Endemol Shine Group.
We're super excited.
So how exactly is that gonna work? Will there be a German version, for example, of Royal Crush soon that you do on board of the AIDA ships, for example?
Yeah, no, we're very excited. This was a partnership that was in development for a very long time. We really like the Endemol team a lot. So for us, it was important, one, to be able to build our brand locally. We didn't want to just show up and say, hey, we're here, and sign up for our MCN, and we'll see you in 6 months. It was very important to us to build the brand. And as part of doing that, Endemol will be creating and operating for us Awesomeness TV Germany, Awesomeness TV Spain, Awesomeness TV France, original channels. So there will be a German channel. It will have all originally produced content in German. They may take some of the formats from the US, so some of our successful shows like Royal Crush or Cheerleaders or Make Me Over or something, they are looking at taking those and developing those as formats that can be distributed either through our YouTube channel or through more traditional channels, as well as, probably bringing some of our finished product from the US and, perhaps dubbing a little bit of it. But that is definitely the plan, is that we are here to invest in building the brand in a very local way with an investment in a lot of original premium content and really working with up-and-coming YouTubers and social talent right here in Germany. So we're very excited about it.
So that means now, finally, we definitely all got to learn the name Awesomeness TV also here in Germany.
We had a lot of conversations about that. Like, how does that translate? And then eventually we decided, well, awesomeness is a great word around the world, so we're going to keep it.
It's just an awesome name.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Kelly, thanks so much for coming over and sharing your experience and your strategies with us. And best of luck, of course, for that exciting expansion ahead of you. Thank you so much, Kelly Day.